Hello, hello, what is up? Today we are looking at the continuation of 50 Shades of Shrine. This is the other Shrine deck of the format. We've got FTS, FPS, and FJS. Or as I like to call them, Grixis, Jund, and yeah, I'll probably get yelled at for saying that, so we just won't. But yeah, this is the Menace deck. We're playing all kinds of cool stuff. I saw Doc28 and a bunch of others playing this deck. I got a list off of one of them, but I really hated the power base, so I made my own, and then I made my own tweaks from there just to be more my style. And yeah, this deck's sweet. One of the things I found with this deck is some of these hands are just absolutely unbeatable. You'll just slam a Mother of Skies and just pop off super early. Here's Mother of Skies. This deck can have a lot of staying power too in the late game, but sometimes what'll happen is in the late game when you're really looking for like card draw or something, you'll draw like a Nesting Raven and then like Mother of Skies and a few power and you just lose. So I tend to gravitate towards the other versions, but my win rate was pretty solid with this, even with that downside. So this was the deck that I used to push myself into top 20, and it definitely helped me get here and stay here. But I've tried all the other Shrine decks, and they're all good. So maybe pick your flavor of Shrine. Let's look into what's going on here, though, and what perhaps separates this from the other Shrine decks. I'd say the main thing is probably Display of Menace. Getting access to this card, it's huge in the mirror. A lot of relics flying around, so being able to just handily pop a relic. I don't imagine Voidbound comes up very often, but when it does, this can be good. And it's just an extra way to sack, too, and just get card advantage. A lot of times, I had an opponent with a backbreaker in play, but I had Shrine in play. So rather than like blow up the backbreaker with my Display of Menace, I just sacked some random weenie and drew some cards and put 2 more minions in play and just bashed my opponent's backbreaker off. So then I had a board, they didn't have a weapon, I gained a bunch of life. Like, this card's pretty solid. It leads to some interesting choices, and it doesn't always play the same way each time. But it'll surely, I think if you play with this card, you'll kind of see the power of it and why it's so good in the meta right now. Blightmoth being one of the other best cards in the meta, this is just like Blightmoth 5 through 7, like 5 through 8 with more utility, basically. But I might be hyping on about this, but if you're playing against a lot of mono fire and a lot of Skycrag, this can be the way to just dunk on those decks. And it's also good in the mirror too, which is cool. Karvet, just sack, draw a card, replace itself, pretty dope. Nesting Raven, this can actually make a multicolored bird on the back end, which will trigger Mother of Skies. Also, just being 1 power, put it into play, sack, turn on your Shrine is super solid. Blightmoth just really bogs down the board. It's really good. Just, I talked about Skycrag, but this card's just good. Just play it. You'll enjoy it. And Kato, Arena Herald, just late game, make 2 2020s or 2 28s with lifesteal and charge is pretty good. Early on, it just bogs down the board, and it's also another way to trigger a Mother of Skies, which is solid. Mother of Skies, by the way, being a 1/4 flyer, just blocks everything. And spitting out those Cloud Snakes is a good way to really early on get a huge board, and then you get a Shrine in play at all, and you're set to win that game. It's another way to become the edgiest of edgelords super early in the game. If they don't have a way to clear your board at all, you can start edgelording as early as like turn 4 or turn 5, which should win you that game, or at the very least set you very far ahead. So it's one of the perks of playing these, getting access to the Primal faction is Edge of Uprising. Blight Pass Smuggler and Senway Smuggler are the smugglers I opted for. You could play a broker market if you wanted, but I kind of like it like this. It's up to you what you end up doing. You can play some more top end too in your void or your market, but I opted to play some more utility cards, just like good in a lot of different occasions. Like sometimes I just want to counter something or blow up like a backbreaker or whatever. Rinja's Choice can kill Roland, which is cool. Also, just randomly killing other stuff is fine as well. Malediction, you can grab it with Blight Pass Smuggler and just blow out aggro opponents with this. Highly recommend it. And I had a lot of concessions when I just played Smuggler into Malediction and then they just left the game. Maiden's a good way to blow out the mirror match or against other Shrine decks. If you expect your opponent to be playing Severin combo, this can be a good way to put the kibosh in that. And then last card of the market, Junkyard. Pretty standard card in a lot of Shrine decks, and just generates a ton of value. You can use it if you suspect your opponent has check or some sort of hasty minion, and just play it and Treachery and take that and then try and Smuggler Stash. But usually the safest thing to do, you know, if you're not just like dead on board, is to Smuggler Stash immediately so you don't get wrecked by some random removal spell like a Seer or something. You still get value. Other cards in the deck, Blade Crafter fetches weapons, which is cool. Our weapons are Oblivion Spike and Edge. You can grab these back with Junkyard, which is cool. Also just good fodder. Strange Burglar, draw 3, buffer board. We got all these birds, so we're happy to get another extra Anthem in here, and we have a ton of fodder for Burglar, so happy to play this guy. And then Shrine, just giving us lifesteal and charge, super good. We get Menace Chant for consistency, and then Combust, just really solid removal spell in our deck. Easy, cheap way to turn on Shrine, and yeah. I didn't mention this, but Menace Chant having Invoke is super solid in the late game. I've gotten some crazy stuff. I got a Kato with it before, which was funny, and that was a game where I played 5 Katos against my opponent, which they weren't happy about, but you can also get really nutty late game stuff. Like I've gotten like Vernal Mandrake, I've gotten Timepiece, I've also gotten straight garbage off of it, but usually there's at least one good card, so... early on, it makes you have a very consistent draw, and then in the late game, you get some spice. That's for sure. Only one Devour, since it kind of shares a slot with the Display of Menace, but you could play more if you wanted. That's kind of up to you. And then the last thing to say is if you wanted, you could play Wasteland Broker. I opted out, but... I kind of figured we already had a ton of 4-drops, but if you were to add Wasteland Broker, you could potentially play something like Savage Incursion in your market, or maybe like Silverblade Menace, just stuff to like blow out the late game if you get into like a board stall. But I don't know how important that is. I kind of prefer to get like a super early advantage and then just cement it with situational removal. But it's up to you how you want to play it. There's a lot of flexibility here. But this is what I opted for. Lots of sigils. This lets my Seed Center play untapped. And we get a Silex too, which is dope. That's the deck. Notable cards that we could potentially be playing. I kind of mentioned some, but we've got Jack, Wasteland Broker. You could play some of the bad 5-drops if you wanted, like... I think Induce Madness or Waste Shrine or Mysterious Waystone, but I wouldn't recommend that. I think the deck works quite solidly the way it is. And I think this could be... I think it will be a very big contender this weekend. And I definitely have this deck on your radar if you're looking to participate in this ECQ this weekend. Thanks for watching.